Everyone, welcome back to the final part of our AI art generator. In the last 5 parts, we have completed all the functionality and designed a lot of UI component. In this video, we're going to complete our entire application. This is where we left and we had generated these images, but we have some problem in the CSS styling, and that's what we're going to fix. After that, we're going to simply continue. So this is what we have. We have to fix this one, and the images are not properly aligned. That's what we have to fix. The task systems are working fine. If you come back here and change the model, and we have a problem v2 model, so it's not filtering it, so that's the one fix we have to do. We can come back to the v3 and we'll reflect the same image. So we have to do a little bit fix. So come back to the code, and here we are in the image card, and we're going to start fixing from here. So we can simply come back here, and I noticed that I made a small typo. It's inset, and this is the fix I have to do. Let's do that, set, and save it. Now you can come back here. You can see this text and the overlay color is perfectly aligned, and we are getting description and title perfectly on overfit. That's working good. Now we can simply come back here. So we are done with this. Now we can simply come back to the index page, and here we have to do a small fix. So this is the problem we have. I forgot to add this bracket, the entire closing bracket, and because of this our grid system was not working. So make sure to provide this and save it. And if you come back here, reload the page, and you will see the images are perfectly aligned, and we are getting this nice over effect and the images and icons. And on the click event, we are getting this image, single image. So things are looking pretty good. This is fine. Now we have to simply deal with this one. And I made a small typo here as well. So that's the fix. We're going to do it. So what we can do, come back to the code, and we can simply come back on the top in the index page, and we have this particular function which allows us to filter the entire data. So we can come back here. This is the entire function I have. You can see calling all post. All we have to do is to fix this portion. You can see I added an extra e. I have added this extra e, and because of that it was not working. So let me remove this, uncomment this, and remove this portion and save it. Remove this and save it. So it's DALL-E-V2. So this is the naming convention we are following. Once you will save, our AI model will work fine. So reload the page, and now if you change the model, the image will be not visible because we haven't generated any images using v2 model. So things are looking great. Now we can come back here and bring it back the images. So all the filter systems are looking great. We have no issue in that. Now we can come back here, click here, and close this one, close this one. Now we can simply come back to the history page, and there we have to do a little bit fix. So this is the one which is fine. We don't need to make any changes here. Now we can simply come back here. Here we have to do the changes in the model. So exactly the same mistake. Remove this one and save it. Perfect. Now we can come back to the history. There you will find that this is the images I have created, and everything is looking great. You can even do the filtration. So if I type create, you can able to filter. If you remove that, it's going to pull out all the images. Come back to the YouTube, and that's all is working. If we check the filter system here, it's working perfect. So we are done with this. Now we can simply come back here in the history page in the main function, and here we have to do the changes. So you can see this is what we have. I forgot to add a weight, and that's obvious. You have to add it because when the data will come as a form of promise, we have to simply wait and resolve the promise. So that's what you have to add, and here you have to add it and provide the user ID, because this time we are going for the user images. The user is logged in and fetching all the images which that particular user is created. So we have to pass the ID. So make sure to do these changes, and the rest would be fine. Perfect. Simply remove this one and remove this one and save it, and that's the only change you have to do here. Now you can come back here, go back to the like section, and here we have to do exactly the same thing. So we have to simply provide this await, remove this one and save it. Now we can simply come back here, and we have to simply remove this one. This is the old one, and this is the changes I have done. Perfect. Now if you click on the like, you will come back to the like page, and we haven't liked any images, that's why it's empty. So we can come back here, everything is looking great. Now we can simply start working ahead, and we can work on the single image component. So let's come back to the code, and let's close this one, come back here, go back to the components, and this is the one we have to work, single image. So let's make it side by side so we can see what exactly we are working on. Perfect. And you can see the images is the component is opening. Now we can simply close this one, come back here, and we have to receive the props. So we have to receive these two props, single ID and set single ID. So let's copy that one, and that's what we can receive. So let me come back here, give this bracket and receive that. Now we have to simply receive the last one is single ID. So this is the one, copy, and that's what we can receive. So this is the only two prop we need, because based on the ID we're going to make a call to our backend and we're going to fetch out the entire information right up here in the single image. Perfect. You click here and you can click on this and it's opening perfectly. Now what we can do, we have to import a lot of things. So first we have to import from React. So we'll import use state and we'll use effect. Then we have to import file save, because we'll allow the user to download, and from there we need this save as. Then we have to come back here and we have to import the, let's say, SVG icons. In that we need the close, copy, link, follow, magic to, arrow right, arrow left, arrow right to, we'll have a download, and we'll have a heart, rug heart, outline, delete. That's perfect. We have got all the icons. Now we can come back here. We have to import the function. So it's going to come from our utils/index, and we have to import dislike function, then like function, then we have to import check auth function, then we have to get single post function, and we have to get the delete function. Perfect. We got all of these 5 functions. Now we're going to ready to interact and work on the project. So first we're going to take the environment variable. We'll take the domain URL, and that's coming from our environment variable. Next, public, we'll call it domain URL. Perfect. Now simply copy and paste here, and this will be called domain, and we'll call it domain. Perfect. We got this to environment variable, and now we have to take a lot of state variables. So come back here. We'll call it use state. This will be like, by default will be false. The second one is going to be post details. It will be empty by default, because when we're going to get the details from our backend, we're going to store in this particular state variable. Then we have to take another one. This will be active user. Then we'll take another one. This will be a loader. Then we'll take another one. This will be a selected image. Then we have to take another one. This will be called recall, and by default it will be 0. And the logic I'm going to implement that when the user will click and the component will open and user will like the image. So whenever the user will like, delete, or do anything action, we have to simply recall the function internally in the component. That's why I'm taking this variable. Come back here. Let's take another one. This will be delete post, and by default it will be false. So we are getting all of this state variable. Now we can simply come back here, and we have to take a function. We'll say AI image download, and all we have to do is that when the user will click on the download button, we allow the user to download the selected image. So it's going to take the image, and here we have to build the condition. So we have to build the URL. So we'll take this domain URL / and the image, and I have to give this, save it. So we got the image URL. Now we have to allow the user to save it. So we have to simply call the library and provide the information. We'll say domain, and we'll give the, let's say, image name. Perfect. So we got it. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take a function. It's going to receive the text, so we can allow the user to simply copy the prompt. Inside that we're going to call it navigator.clipboard write text, and we can pass the text so it can copy. Now we can come back here. We'll take a variable called calling like. So this function will allow us to like the post. So it will be a async function. In that we have to simply pass the post ID, and we have to do the normal work. So we'll take the cry and catch, and we have to simply console log out if anything goes wrong. So first we're going to simply turn off the loader, by default it false, and then we have to simply call the console.log the error. Now we can come back here, we have to start the loader. After that we have to make a call to our API. So we'll take this response await, and we already have the function, so we'll call it like post, and we give the post ID. Then we have to check for the response, because when the post will be liked successfully, we'll get a response. So that's the response we have here in the response object. We have to check for the status. If it's equal to 200, means the post is liked successfully. Then we have to simply update the state variable. So we'll say set recall is going to be recall +1. So it will increment and is going to recall the fetch function. Now we can simply call this set loader to false, and that's the entire function we have for liking the post. It's very simple, because we have done all the hard work in our backend and in the utility functions. All we are doing is simply calling the function. Now simply copy and paste here, and this is going to be our dislike post. It's going to take the entire same parameter. All we have to do is to simply change the function name. So this will be dislike post. Perfect. That's our function is ready for disliking the post. Now we can simply copy this portion, and this one is going to be for our delete post. So it's going to take the post ID, and here we have to change that to delete post, and everything is ready. And we can simply remove this, because once the post will be deleted, I want to reload the page and I want to reset everything. So let's call this window.location.reload. Perfect. This is ready. Now we have to get the function which allows us to fetch all the information about the single post. So let's build that. So we can simply come back here, copy this one and paste here, and change this to, let's say, user info, because in that we're going to fetch the user info as well as the post ID. So we're going to simply come back here, we'll remove this portion, we'll take this if post ID exists, then I want to simply call this single post, and we have to make a call to our backend. In that I can simply pass the post ID. So I will have the single post. Once I have the single post, I can simply set that data to our state variable. That's the first thing. Now the second thing is we have to check, and by default we have to set the first image as a default. So we can use this selected image. In that I can simply access the data. So we'll come back here and I can say single post, and I can take the first index, because this images will contain the array of images. So I can simply access the first image. Simple. Once I'm done with that, now we can come back here. We'll take this const response, and this is going to make a call to our check auth, and it's going to give us the details about the user. So first we have to set that to response, because this response will contain all the information about the user. And then we can come back here, we'll build this condition. We'll say if response ID is equal to single post, in that we'll have user ID, means the owner who created the image is logged in and interacting with the image. Then I want to simply activate this call set delete post to true, so the delete button will display. Simple logic. What I'm doing, I'm checking the user who created it, and I'm just trying to match it. If it matches, then I have to simply activate the delete component. I can simply come back here, build a second condition. We'll say single post likes includes the user who is logged in, and the data is available here, response.id. So if the user already liked the image, then I can simply set this to true, so it will display that like button, already liked button. Perfect. Else we can simply call it to false. Simple logic. In this way user can like or unlike the images, and that's the entire thing we have to write here in this particular function. So first we are getting the information about the single post, then setting up the state variable, then we are calling the auth function and just checking for the condition and the like and unlike. We're done with that. Now we can simply call this function whenever this particular components get open. So we're going to use this hook. Inside that we can simply call this. So I want to call this function every time there is a change in the recall, and let's call this one. Perfect. And pass the single ID, and that's the only thing we have to do here. So this is the entire function is ready. First we are importing this, then importing the icons, the function, state variable. We have taken all of these states, then we have built the internal function for downloading, This is the copy, and here we have for like, dislike, delete, and here we have this user information. And this is the function we are calling. Now we can start working on the JSX straight away. So everything is looking good. You can simply go to that and you can see the components open. Now let's write the JSX. So first we're going to take a class. Let's call this single image with fixed inset 0 with screen, height screen, overflow hidden, padding x 16, padding y 4, flex, justify, center, z index 40, on a small screen z index 50, background zinc, it will be 900, background opacity is going to be 80. Now if I click on this, you can see we are having a nice overlay effect and we're getting our text. So the overlay effect is working fine. Now we can have to work on the internal component. So this component is going to be very big. It's one of the biggest component we're going to write here. So we can come back here. Let's add the inline style. This will be called style. We'll have over, scroll, behavior, it will be contain. Then we'll say min height is going to be WebKit fill available. Perfect. Now we can simply remove this one, take a div. Inside the div, let's come back here. Let's add a on-click function, and on the on-click function we have to simply remove the single ID. So it will close the component because we are working on the closing button. It will have a class. Let's call this absolute. Top is going to be 0, left is going to be 0, cursor, pointer, it will have a h12, width 12, flex, item center, justify, center, text for Excel, drop, shadow, and there it is. Perfect. Now inside that we can display our close icon, and if I simply click here, you can see the close icon was working fine. So they can open and they can close it. That's how it's going to look on the mobile device. Okay, so we're done with that. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class single scroll flex, flex column, background zinc 800, drop shadow, Excel, overflow hidden, rounded Excel, border zinc 700, box content. Inside the div, we'll take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this flex shrink 0, overflow hidden, text base padding x 5, flex call, height auto. It will have an inline style. Let's call this height, fit content, width is going to be 400. Perfect. You can see right now it's looking great. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this margin top 6, padding x 4, padding y 3, background zinc 700, rounded Excel, shadow, background opacity 50, font light, flex call, space y 5. There it is. You can come back here. We'll take a p tag. Inside that we can take an anchor, and we can take a class. Let's call this background red 500, background opacity is going to be 0, rounded over effect, background opacity is going to be 40, cursor, pointer. Inside that we can display our data, the prompt. So we have that in the post details, and if I click, you can see the prompt is reflecting. Now I can simply come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this flex text small, font light. Inside the div, we'll take another div. It will have a class called flex1, flex row, space x2, margin right 2. Inside that we'll take a, let's say we'll take a div. It will have a on click function, and on the on click function we have to simply call this copy text. So user can simply click and they can copy the prompt, and it will have a class. Let's call this text. Extra small, rounded, medium. On a small screen we'll say text is going to be extra small. Active is going to be scale 95. We'll have a transition all. We'll have transform. Let's call this one transform GPU. We have width is going to be white space, no wrap. Flex 1, flex, select none, cursor pointer. Over effect we want background zinc 600, and border zinc 600, background zinc 700. Items center, justify, we're going to have center, and it's going to have shadow. This will call shadow. Padding X 2.5, padding Y is going to be 2, width is going to be fit content, and these are the classes we have applied on our div. Now we can see, we can come back here, we can simply give the icon. So we'll take this copy icon and we can display the copy prompt text. Now if you click, you can see icons are reflecting and we have our text. Perfect. We're done with this section. Now what we can do is we're going to have a similar section. Simply close this one and copy this one and paste here. All we have to do is to simply do the changes. So this will be called, let's say, domain, and we'll have the name of the images. So user can simply copy and he can open and share wherever he or she wants. Once we're done with that, now we can simply come back here and we can simply change it. So this will be called link and this will be called URL. Copy. If you click, you can see we got these two buttons. Now we can simply come back here, leave to div, and we'll take a anchor, and I want to redirect the user to the create section. So I'll apply the classes. Text small, width 12, flex, select none, cursor pointer. Over effect we want background zinc 600, border zinc will have, let's say, 600, background zinc 700, item center, justify center, rounded medium, shadow, padding x3. Perfect. Inside that we'll take a link, follow, and we can simply display the link, so user can click and it can follow. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here, leave to div, and we can take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this one to flex space x2, padding 2. Inside the div we need this section, copy the anchor, and that's what we can paste here, and we have to do the changes. So this should be, let's select or remove this one. Let's apply the classes called rounded medium. On a small screen, text small, we'll have a group, margin top 4, white space, no wrap. We'll have flex 1, flex, select none. Then we'll have a, let's say, cursor pointer. Over effect we'll have a brightness 110, background gradient 2 top, it's 2 top. Then we can say from indigo 900, VIA indigo, this will be 900, and we'll have a 2 indigo is going to be 800, and we'll have a drop shadow, items center, justify center, and we'll have a padding x 2.5, padding y is going to be 2.5, and width is going to be fit content. Active is going to be scale 95, and we'll have transition all. So this is all the classes we have applied, and this will be called magic 2. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here and call this open creator. So if you click in here, you can see our button is working fine. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here, copy this entire anchor section, and we have to replicate it. And here we have to do the changes to history. So user can click and it's going to go to the history section, and the classes would be fine. We don't need to make any changes. Like, we have to do a little bit changes. So let's have a look. So this is fine. Like, we're going to have the active, and this section should be not there. Remove this one. Perfect. Now here we have to do the changes to be, let's say, arrow right, and let's bring it on top, and let's change this to explore your history. Perfect. The button is reflecting. Now we can simply come back here and we'll take a div. It will have a class called, on the medium device we'll say margin top 6, margin top 4, opacity is going to be 80, margin left 2, grid calls 2, we'll say gap 2, on the medium device flex wrap, medium device will say flex call, medium device will say space x0, medium device will say space y1, and height is going to be auto. Padding bottom is 32. On a small screen we'll say padding bottom is going to be 8. Inside the div, we'll come back, we'll take a div, it will have another div inside the div, and it will have a class. Let's call this text extra small, opacity 50. Inside that we'll take this model and we can display the data. So we can take a class, this will be called text small. Inside that we can display the data. So we have the details in the post details, and I can display the model which we have used to create the images. Now if I click on it, you can see the model is reflecting and the section is reflecting perfectly. Now all we have to do is to simply do a little bit copy paste. So simply copy this one and paste here and change the data. So this will be called dimension, means the image ratio, and the quantity. So this will be called quantity. Got it? Now we can simply copy this one and paste here, and this will be, let's call this quality. And what kind of quality we have used? So quality, copy and paste here, and this will be called style, and change this to style. Copy this one and paste here, and this one is going to be called creator. So we already have the data. So inside the post detail we have the user information, and from there I can get the access of the user name. Perfect. We got it. Now we can simply come back here and we can leave two div. Come down here, we'll take a div, it will have a class called width full, medium screen will say height full, flex call, style is going to be, let's say order is going to be 0. Inside the div, we'll take a div, it will have a class called flex, max auto, margin top is going to be 20 pixels. Inside the div, we'll take the button, it will have a class, let's call this height full, width 14, text 5 pixel, flex, item centers, justify, center, opacity 10. Inside the button we have to display the icon, arrow left. Then you can see the arrow icon is looking good. Now we can simply come back here and we can take a div, it will have a class called relative. Inside that we'll take a div, it will have a class called absolute, top is going to be 2, right is going to be 2, z index 30. Inside the div, we'll take a button, it will have a class, let's call this to background zinc 900, background opacity 70. On over effect we want to have background opacity 200, flex, item center, we'll have justify, center, pointer, event, auto, cursor, pointer, active, scale is going to be 90, and we'll have a transition all, we'll have a rounded, large, text, large, height is going to be 11, width is going to be 11, and that's all we have. Inside that button we'll take a div, it will have a class, let's call this one to scale 50, inline style is going to be, let's say font size is going to be, let's 2.5 RAM. We got it. Now inside the div we'll take our data. So here we have the like state variable, based on the true and false we have to display like button or unlike button. So we'll say if it's true, then we have to display this particular section for heart, and it will have a inline style. So I have to turn this to, let's say color red, means the user have liked the post, else we have to display the user to like it. So it will also have an unclick function, let's call this calling dislike, and pass the post ID. Perfect. Same thing we have to do with the else statement. So we'll take this reg heart and we have to send the prop, the function we have to pass. So we'll take on click and we have the function for like, and in that we're going to simply pass the post ID. So that's our like button, or unlike button is ready. Now we can simply come back here. So come back down below the button, and from here we have to take this dynamic block and we'll say delete post, and this particular section will only visible if the person is interacting who created the post. So if I have created the post, so I only can delete it. So we already built the condition above, so we'll say delete post. If it's true, then I want to display this. So we'll take this, let's call this button, close this one, let's apply the style. It will be called margin, top is going to be 1 RAM. It will have a class called background zinc 900, background opacity 70, on over effect we can say background opacity 100, flex, item center, justify, content, pointer, events, auto, cursor, pointer, will have active, scale is going to be 90, and it will have a transition, let's call this transition, all, rounded, large, text is going to be large, and will have height 11, width 11. Perfect. Now inside the button we can take the div. It will have a class called scale 50. It will have a style, let's call this font size is going to be 2.5 RAM. Inside the div we can display the icon, delete icon, and it will have an onClick function, and we have to simply call the delete function we have, pass the post ID. Perfect. Got it? Now we can simply come back here. We'll take an image, and we already have the image, so we can simply display this select image, and it will have, so we have to build a dynamic condition. So we'll say if select image is there, then I want to give the URL of the image. So we'll take this domain URL slash select image, else I can simply say domain URL slash post detail image is going to be first index. Simple. So when it will open for the very first time, it's going to simply display the index value image, but when the user will select on the other images, is going to be selected and it will display in the selected image. So perfect. I'm getting some sort of warning here. Okay, this is the error. Okay, I noticed one thing, simply format this properly, and I have to simply format this one as well. And okay, my bad. So this is the bracket I have, which I need to simply provide here. So provide this and remove this one, save it. Perfect. Make sure to check what I have done. Okay, now you can see the image is reflecting, but the image is not perfectly aligned, so we can have to fix. So here I have to provide this RAM, so it will make our icon a little bigger. Now you can see the icon is bigger. Now we can simply come back here, and here we have to work. It will have a class, let's call this single image new. Then we can simply copy that one and paste here, and here we have to do the changes. So this will be our, let's say, relative z20 new height image, and I can add a little bit more classes here. So let's add this absolute, top is going to be 0, left 0, and z index 10. So this is the classes I have applied on the first one. Actually we can come back here, and we can come here, we'll take a style. This will call width is going to be 330.056 pixels. We'll have a height, let's call this 457 pixels. We'll have a max width is going to be none, and we can come back here. I can see the image is not reflecting. That's interesting, and I noticed the problem. We don't need to apply these classes, so simply remove this one and just keep this one, single image new. Now if you click, the image will reflect here. We're going to fix this. So let's come back here and come here. We'll take a div. It will have a class called absolute, bottom 2, right 2, space y2, flex call, item end, z index 30. Inside that we'll take a anchor. It will have an onClick function, and we'll say AI image download, and we allow the user to simply download it. So we can simply pass the selected image. It will have a class, let's call this background zinc 900, background opacity 70. On over effect we want background opacity to be 100. We'll have a transition opacity flex, item center, justify center. We'll have a cursor, pointer, text large, height 10, width 10, rounded large. Inside that we can take our download icon. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here, lift to div, and we can take a button. It will have a class, height full, width 14, text 5 pixel, flex, items center, justify center, opacity 80, over effect will have opacity 100, cursor will have a pointer. Inside that we'll take our arrow 2. Now we can simply come back here and we have to display the images down below. So we can simply come here, we'll take a div, it will have a class called flex, space x2, items center, justify center will have overflow is going to be hidden, width full, flex wrap, margin top 4. On the medium screens we'll say margin top is going to be 10 pixels, and will medium screen padding x is going to be 2. Inside that we have to display the images, because in V2 model we can create up to 5 images. So let's render that image. So we'll say post details. Inside that we'll have the images. It will be an array, and from there I can simply run a map and we'll say image index, and I have to do instant return. So in that I can take a div. Let's close this one. Let's take a key is going to be index. We'll have a class relative. It will have an onClick function, and on the onClick function we have to simply set the image to our state variable. So we'll pass the image. Perfect. Now we can add the style. Height is going to be 50, width is going to be 36 pixels 111, and we'll have a margin. Bottom is going to be 6. We got all of the classes. Now I can simply come back here and copy this entire image, and that's what I can simply paste here. I have to do the changes, so I can simply remove this section. So remove this section. We're going to have the domain URL and the image. Let's pass this one. Okay, so domain URL and the image, and the rest should be fine. This should be changed. Let's remove this one and let's add this select none. Cursor is going to be a pointer. We'll have a opacity 100. I want to remove this one to auto and remove this one, and it will have an object. Fit is going to be content. We'll have a background color is going to be black, and perfect. You can see the image is reflecting fine, but still we have some issue, but we are getting the data. Now we can simply we can do one thing. We can come back here, we'll take a div. It will have a class called hidden. Inside that we can take an image, and I can take this template literal. We'll say download / images. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here. Let's make on the big screen. So this is fine, this is fine. All of things are looking great. We don't have any issue in that. We have written all of that. That looks great. This is the entire huge section we have for like, and this is the delete and images and all of the things we have here. Perfect. Now we can come back here, and if I click on this, okay, there is a problem in our width. So it's working fine. We are getting all of this detail, but the width is not perfectly aligned, and you can see on the click event the image is also changing. So all the logic we have applied is working fine. I'll click and get the image. So let's try to fix this one. If you click on this, it will take us to this particular one. Okay, I have given the wrong name. So that's the one change I have to do. Come back here. If I click on the prompt, I can copy, and you can see I can copy the URL, and the image is working fine. Perfect. Close this one, open, everything is working good. Come back here, and we have to do a little bit fix so I can see the problem. So here we have these two div. Close this one, and I have to wrap this inside a div. Okay, so let's take another div. It will have a class flex, full, height full, self, stretch, flex, column, flex column on the medium device, flex row, padding bottom 16, medium will say padding bottom 0, medium padding top is going to be 0, and we'll have a flex line 1 and cut this div and bring it back here and paste it. Now it will work fine. Perfect. Save it, come back here. Now if you click, it will take the entire bit. Looking good. Perfect. You can see all of things are looking great. You can click and you can open the image. You can simply click and it will take you here. So this is the wrong name I have given, which I have to fix. So come back here, let's copy the name. So rename, copy, and that's what we have to do the changes here. So let's come back here, replace here, and let's bring it back. We can click here, come back here, this is fine, and here we have to do changes slow, like this is good. This is the place where we have to do the changes. Perfect. Now click here, you can click on this, it will take you to the history section, and if you click on this, it will take you to the create section. Perfect. Click on this, it will take you to the create section. So everything is working fine. You can see all the images are looking great. You can like, and the image you have liked successfully. Perfect. You can like it and you have liked the image. Reload the page, click on that, you will see. If you come back to the like section, you can see this is the two images you have liked and the data is reflecting fine here. Perfect. Come back here, everything is looking great. You can simply click and you can simply like the images, copy the prompt, and perfect. Like, and we can like it. Come back here in the YouTube and you have liked it and it's reflecting there. Okay, our dislike function is not working somehow, so you can see, click and it's not working. Let's do the inspect element to see what exactly went wrong, and come back here, and here I'm getting this access error. So there is some problem in our endpoint. So it's telling me 404. Why? This is the 404 error I'm getting, and I'm getting this message in the data field that you have already liked the post. But yes, I've liked this, but I won't delete the post. Come back here. This is what we have. So I'm getting this warning. Make sure to save it to restart the server. Close this one, and we can come back here in our backend API. Go back to the router models, not models. We have to go back to the router. In that you will see this is the endpoint we are calling for dislike. Dislike, like, and we are passing the post ID. This is fine. There is no problem in that. We can come back here in the utils, and in the utils we have the function which allow us to connect with this particular route. So this is the one we have dislike, and we are calling the exact spelling API post dislike. We are passing the post ID and the user information, and I have noticed the problem. That what exactly went wrong. So simply remove this one. This is the dislike post. You don't need to make any changes, just keep it as it is. Now you have to come back to the post controller, and here we have made a small mistake. So you can see this is the dislike post controller, and here we are doing the check. We are getting the post ID and the user ID. First we are finding the post, that whether the post exists or not. Second, we are finding the user, and third, we are checking that whether the user have already liked the post or not. So this is the problem I have to provide this exclamation mark, and this is the message we are getting. If I come back in the browser, you will see that's the exact message I'm getting here. If I click, and if I try to click on the like, here we have it. You have already liked the post, because that's what I'm checking here. So I have to give this exclamation mark so it will check in other way. Perfect. And that's the only thing you have to do. Reload the page, and now you can able to dislike the post. So click on this and click on this dislike, and you have disliked the post. You can see got the status to okay. Post dislike successfully. Like and dislike. Perfect. Reload the page. So our dislike function is working great. Come back here, click and like, cut this, go back to the like section, and that's what is reflecting. You can dislike and you can like it. Perfect. Got it? Now you can come back to the home, and everything is looking great. Copy, prompt, open, history, this one, download. You can simply click and you can see the image you have downloaded successfully. Perfect. And here you can see the name. If I click on this is the name. First we are giving the name of our brand, and then we are giving the ID we have generated, means the user ID and the time and date. Perfect. So we are done with this entire home section. Everything is looking great. We are done with this entire section. Close this one. This is also done. Now close this one, close this one, close this one, and now we can simply come back here, and we can simply go back to the history and go back to the likes, and you can see this is what we are getting. If I come back to the generate, and this is what we have to work, reel, and this one, the component. So we have a separate component for that. So if we come back to the pages, there it is. And if I go all the way down here, like this is the section we have to work, which we have already done it. Now we can simply come back here, and we have to do a little bit fix right up here. So this is good. So here we have the body part. I have to add more div here. So simply close this one, come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class called flex item center justify center width full. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called flex width full, flex column reverse max width is going to be 1400 pixels, padding bottom 32, padding x2, small screen padding x8. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called active outline none, focus outline none. Inside that we'll take a, let's add an inline style as well. So let's call this one to tab is going to be 0. We'll have a style, we'll say position relative, width is going to be 100%, max width is going to be 100%. We'll have a height is going to be 994 pixels. We'll have a max height is going to be, let's say, 995 pixels. We got it. Come back here, reload the page, come back here, come inside the div, and we'll take a div. It will have a style. Let's call this width is going to be 100. We'll have a position is going to be absolute. We'll say writing mode is going to be horizontal tab. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this margin bottom 10. So we got this div margin bottom 10 pixels. Now we have to simply cut our button section. So simply come back here and select all this, copy, cut, and paste here. Perfect. We got the button. You can see looks perfect. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take our dynamic bar data, and we have to simply render our images. So we'll call this render length. If the length we have, then we have to simply call this fragment. Inside that we can take a div. It will have a class called flex wrap justify center flex one width full item center, and let's add the else statement as well. Inside the div we'll take the dynamic array, and we have to simply render the images. So we'll take this item index, and we already have the component, so we'll call this a part image card, and that we have to send the prop. So let's call this index, then we have to send the item, and we have to send the single cell ID. Perfect, we got it. Now we can simply come back here on the big screen, and everything's looking good. Now you can see the tabs are working great. You can go to different tabs because we have the images. Come back here and come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class called padding x4, text small, text zen index 10, text zinc 100, width full, flex items center justify center margin top 2. Inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called opacity 80, over effect, we'll say opacity is going to be 100. We'll have a transition all, cursor pointer, we'll have a group. Inside that we'll take a div and call it title is going to be load in editor. Inside that we'll display our text. We'll say welcome to AI image generator powered by the blockchain coder. So I'll just want to redirect the user to the blockchain coder. So www.theblockchain.com/source code section, there you will find all the project source code, and we'll take a strong tag and we'll say the blockchain coder. Perfect, looks great. Now we are done with this entire section. Now you can see we got this blank space. Perfect. And this is the footer section we have, and it's reflecting great. Can open different tab. Now we have to work on this particular section, so we can simply come back here, and this is the cart component we have to work. So we have to simply receive the prop, receive this, and that's what we have to open. It has inside the pages, and there we can simply receive it. Got it. Remove this one, remove this one, remove this one, and let's make it side by side so we can see what exactly we are working on. We can come back to the global, and from there we can simply copy few things. So we already have this, so let's copy this entire icon and paste here. Then we need this portion, this environment variable, and paste here. And we have to fix a little bit, so we don't need these so many things. Remove this one. We need the image search, we need the share, download, delete, and the like one. This is fine. Now let's make it side by side. Okay, I'm getting some sort of error. Okay, I have taken as an array, I have to take as an object. Let's remove this one. Perfect, got it. Now the tabs are working good. Now we can start working on the JSX. So let's take a class. It will have a on click function, set single id to items id. Then we'll take this class. It's going to be a dynamic class. So first it will be flex call will have a group, medium device will say width is going to be 1 by half, margin y 1 by 1.5. Then we'll take this template literal, and we have to add a dynamic class. We'll say if index is equal, we'll give the percentage, and if it's equal to 0, remainder. So when we're going to do the division, and if it's 0, then we have to apply this class. Margin on the medium screen will say padding left 16, else we can say padding right 16. Perfect. Now inside that we'll take a div. It will have a class called flex1, flex call, item center, justify center. It will have a max 1.5. Inside that we'll take a div, and inside that we'll take another div. It will have a class. It's going to be a self-closing div, and it will have an ID. Let's call this menu container. Let's move this one. Come back here. We'll take a class. It will have a block, relative, group, select none, cursor, zoom in, margin bottom 4, small screen will say margin bottom 0. We'll have a rounded, small, medium, rounded, large, shadow, large, transition, opacity, duration, 500, rounded, large. Inside that div, we'll take a div. It will have a class. Let's call this absolute, inset 0, z index 1, 10, block, text in 100, opacity 0, group, over effect will say opacity 100, transition opacity will say pointer events none, line clamp padding x2, padding bottom 2, text small, padding x2. Inside that we can display, let's have a inline style. We'll say style is going to be background, we'll say linear, gradient. Let's call this to degree 0 degree. We'll say RGB 0 0 0 0.1. It will be 100%. Then we'll have a second one RGBA. We'll say 0 0 0, and this will be 0.1 on 30%. And the last one is going to be, let's say 0 0 0, and this will be 0 on 0%. Perfect. Now we can come back here, and it's going to be a self-closing div, so remove this one. Come back here, we'll take a div. It's going to have a class. Let's call this top 0, left 0, absolute, padding 1.5, width full, flex z index 10, opacity 0, group is going to be over, we'll say opacity 100, text zinc 100, justify between, transition opacity, padding x 2, margin bottom 1, text small. Inside the div, we'll take a div. It will have a class called no extended image flex, no extend image flex call space y 2. Inside that, we'll take anchor. It will have a class called no extend image background zinc 900, background opacity 80, over effect we'll say background opacity is going to be 100. We'll have a transition, let's call this all, flex item center, justify center, cursor pointer, shadow medium active, we'll say scale 90, height 10, width 10, rounded large, we'll say text large. And the reason why it's not reflecting, because this entire classes will be activated based on over effect. So just keep working on the classes. Inside that, we'll take our icon, which is the image search. Perfect, we got it. Now we can come back here, we'll take a button. It will have a class. Let's come back here, let's grab this entire class, and that's what we can replace here. And here we have to do a little bit changes, so this is fine. I guess we don't need to make any changes, just add this attribute. We'll say data state is going to be close, and we can simply add the icon, we'll say share. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here, we'll take a anchor. It will have a attribute download, we'll say create new and download. It will have a title, let's call this download, and it will have a class called max large, absolute top negative 0.5, left 14. Inside that, we can take our this entire button, copy, and that's what we can paste here, and this will be download. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here, we'll take a div. It will have a class, let's call this no extend image flex call space y1. We can simply copy this one, and that's what we can paste here. Now we have to do the changes, remove that one, and this will be 70, and remove this one. We can simply come back here, and let's add one more. This is going to be our pointer event auto, and we can simply add one more class. So remove this shadow one, and let's come back here, we'll say transition all, and we can simply come back here, and this would be fine. Remove this one, change the icon to div. It will have a class called scale 50. It will have an inline style, we'll say font size is going to be 2.1 RAM. Inside that, we can take our icon. Perfect, I'm getting this. Remove this one, save it. Perfect. Now we can simply copy this entire section. That's what we can simply paste here, and here we have to do a little bit changes. So this looks good, that's fine. Let's change the icon only, delete. Now we can simply come back here, live to div, and we can take an image, and we can simply pass the image. So we have to give our domain URL and slash the image is available in the first index. Perfect, you can see the images are reflecting fine. Let's add the class. We'll say width is going to be 1152, and height is going to be, let's say 768, and we'll have, let's remove it. Perfect, and that's how things will look. You can see it's quite big and it's looking great. we have to do a little bit changes, and you can see the tabs are working fine, but on over effect our icons are very close to each other, so we have to fix this because this is not what we have in the design. So we're going to have some space from top as well. You can see on the click event we can open the image. Perfect. Come back here, and here we have to do the fix. So first thing we have to do right up here, so it's a not semicolon, so this is the wrong I have done. So we remove this one and just give a normal comma. It was this, and you have to give this one. Now here we have to do the changes, so this between and transition is close to each other, so we have to give the space. Okay, it was this, you have to give a space. That's the one change. Now if we come back here, things are great, but we have to fix this portion out now. Come back here, and I can see the problem right up here. So it's a justify, the spelling is wrong, so justify, justify, and save it. Now you come back here, now there's space, have space, and looks good, and it's very responsive for screen, mobile screen as well. Pretty good. Perfect. Now we'll come back on the big screen. Working great. Perfect. Now we can come back here, and we can simply go all the way down. Actually we can come back here, and I just want to have some space from the top, so we can do one thing. We can simply come back here in the apart image card, and here we can simply add the margin top. So let's say margin top is going to be 2, and save it, and you can see I have a little bit margin. Remove the page. Actually let's increase the margin, so this will be 4. Save it, and now we have good margin. This is good. 4 is good. Perfect. You can like, or you can dislike or like perfectly. So we are done with this entire page. We are done with that all. Let's check the credit. So let's sign it out, and let's try to log and create a new account. We'll say Daulat gmail.com, password, click on sign up, and we are signed up. Now let's log in. Daulat gmail.com, password is going to be login, and we are login, and if I click, you can see I'm getting 3 credit. So it's also looking great. Now you can come back to the history. There is no post I have created, that's why it's empty. If you come back to the like, there is no post we have liked. So if I come back and like a post, this data will reflect in our like page. So if I come back in the like, you can see the logic we have implemented, it's working fine. You can unlike or you can like. Perfect. Now we can come back to the generate, and let's create couple of images. So first thing, let's give the prompt. So I'll call it body builder working out in the gym and doing chest workout today. You can give whatever you want. Let's give the tags, it's going to be gym body builder, and just fix this one, and now pick the model. So I'll go with this vivid, and the size is going to be this one, and let's take the Instagram and click on the generate. It's making the call. Just wait. And finally, somehow our AI model got failed. You can see we got this 400 error message, which is coming from our OpenAI. So what I can do, I can simply do the inspect element, because the AI key we have provided is working fine. Sometime it's happened. Okay, sometime your AI model failed to respond. There's no problem in the code. It's happening because the AI failed to give the response. So simply click on this, and let's try one more time. Reload the page, and let's give one more try. So we'll say body builder working out in the gym. Let's give the tag gym bodybuilder, select the model natural, and click on this. Let's do the inspect element before we click, so we can see. Click on this generate, and it's generating, and you can see we got the response from our AI model, and everything is working fine. So sometime it happened, that's not a big deal. You can click and you can download the image, and you can simply copy and paste the URL of the image, and you can see this is the image. We have successfully constructed our URL perfectly. You can like it, reload the page, come back here. You can see this is the one we have created. This This is the one you have liked. Perfect. Now you can come back here. Looks great. Come back and let's try to create few more. So this is good. We can simply go to the different tabs, redo the page, and everything's looking good. Now we can do one thing. I just want to open the reel section by default. So let's come back here, go back to the pages, and here we can do one change. So this is what we have in the calling post, and here we have this YouTube. So instead of YouTube, I can go with the reel because that's what we are following in all the pages. So change this to reel and reload the page, and it will fix the issue. So by default, it's going to open the image, the reel one. Perfect. If I simply sign out and log out with the other account, the blockchain coder, you will see this reel data will be reflecting here by default. Save it, and if I come back to generate, you can see by default it will generate the reel one. Perfect. Perfect. We got it. Close this one. Everything's looking great. Now we can come back to the home page. Generate is good. History is good. Like is good. And now we have to work on the account page. So it's going to be a quite little bigger page. So we can simply come back here, close all of that, come back to the account, and we need to do a lot of work. So first we have to import a lot of things. So use state and use effect. Then we have to import the cookie. Then we have to import our icons like Instagram. That's coming from React icon /fa6. This will be AI, and this will be BD. Let's say BS camera reel fill, and this will be AI outline YouTube. Perfect. Then we have to import the CSV icons. We'll say home logo, search, filter, color, tick. Come back here, we'll import. We'll come back, go to the components. From there we can get the components. So first is going to be the header, then we'll have the get start, we'll say image card, we'll have slider, we'll have a single image, and we'll have a part image card. We got all of this component. Now we can come back here, we'll take this, and we have to get the check auth, which is coming from our utils. Then we can simply come here, we'll take this import information. So we have already got the JSON file. In that I have provided you all the details, and that JSON file we're going to render. So we can simply access that. We can go back to the data, and from there I can get all the accounts. Then we can get the features which we are providing in our services, and that file is also given. If we come back here, there you will find in the data folder, there we have all of this file in which we have generated the dummy data. So if you come back to the account, that's all you have. You can simply play around and check. So we can simply come back here, we got all of that. Come here, we'll take a state variable. This will be active user. Then I have to get this get user details, and I have to simply call the function. Try and catch, console log out the error, and we can simply call the function. So we'll say store cookie. So I have to call this function when the cookie is available, means the user is logged in. We'll say cookie get, and we can give the key token. We'll say if it's available, then we have to make a call to our backend. We'll say await check auth and set the data to the state variable. So that's our function is ready. Now I want to simply call the function when the page reload. Let's call the function only one time. Perfect. That's all the thing we have done. We have imported this, we have imported the component, function, and the data, and the function is looking great. Now we can simply make it side by side. And I'm getting some sort of warning. Okay, this is the error I'm getting. So to fix this, we have to fix here. It's not BD, it's BS, and save it and reload the page. And here is another problem in the name of the feature. So I've given the wrong file name. So let's come back here. Let's rename, and that's what we can simply replace here. Perfect. Now reload the page. Perfect. The account is resulting fine. Now we can start working on the JSX. So first we remove it, take the header, then we can take a div. It will have a class call Margin bottom is going to be 50 pixels. Small screens, margin bottom 0. On a small screen, we'll say margin top is going to be 56 pixels, and somehow this is looking good, but it's taking a lot of time for our webpack to simply render the CSS and the front end. So everything is good. Let's minimize this one and let's make it side by side. Okay, perfect. Now we can simply come back here. We'll take a get started component, and in that we can simply send the user information. Then we'll take a div. It will have a class called padding top 8. On a small screen, we'll say padding top 10, padding bottom 6, container max auto, max width 6xl, padding x5, margin bottom 32, small screen, margin bottom 0. Inside that, we'll take a div, click on this, small screen flex, column, align, center. Inside that, we'll take a div. It will have a class called text 3xl, small screen, text 4xl, margin bottom is going to be 6, 5xl, font logo, font bold, margin top 0, text center. Inside that, we'll take our account. Then we can come here, take a p tag. It will have a class called text extra small, extra large, text center, margin top 2. Inside that, we'll take our text, will say choose the plan that's right for you. Perfect. Then we can simply come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class flex item center, justify center, flex column, flex shrink, margin top 10. Inside that div, we'll take a p. It will have a class called text right, text small, padding right 4, padding bottom 1. It will have an inline style called width 300 pixels. Inside that, we'll take a save 20% text. Then we can come back here. We'll take a div. It will have a class called border bottom rounded full, border opacity 20, border white, relative overflow hidden, background zinc 900, flex. Inside that div, we'll come back here, make on the big screen and reload the page, and let's see how things are coming together. And you can see it's looking great. It's looking great. So the text is there. Now we can simply come back here and let's work on the entire JSX first. So it will have a style. Let's call this width is going to be 300 pixels. Inside the div, we'll take a div. It will have a class background zinc 600, text white, shadow medium, background opacity 80, height full, absolute, top 0, left 0, rounded full. Inside it will have inline style, width 150 pixels, transform, translate 150 pixels, and translate is going to be 100, like 0 pixels. Inside the div, we'll take a button. It will have a type button. It will have a class width 64, rounded full, padding y 2.5, text small, font medium. We'll say white space, no wrap, focus outline none, focus z index 10. On small screen we'll say with auto, on small screen say padding x7, relative, text zincs 400. Inside the button we'll take a starter plan. We can simply copy and paste here, and let's remove this one. This will be white, this will be max plan. We can simply come back here. We'll take a plan, comment this one, and come back and reload the page to see. Okay, somehow it's not reflecting, so reload the page one more time. It's not reflecting again, so we have to do a little bit fix, and this is the portion we have to do. It's transform So we have to say X and this will be Z. Save it. Make sure to fix this, and we have to fix a lot. So first let's continue ahead in the JSX, then we're going to simply fix. So we can come back here, we'll take a div, it will have a class item center, justify center, margin top 8, small screen margin top 16, flex call, space y 6, space y 0, and on small screen we'll say grid, small screen grid calls 3. We'll have a small screen, we'll say gap is going to 2, medium screen will say gap is going to be 6. It will have an inline style, we'll say max width 1100 pixels. Inside the div we'll take our dynamic data. So we'll take the feature map item index, and we have to make it instant return. Inside that we'll take a div, let's close that. It will have a class call span 1, flex shrink 0, border opacity 20, background zig 900, rounded 2 pixels, transition all, height full, flex 1, border opacity 20, border white. It will have inline style, let's call it max width 330 pixels. Inside the div we'll take a div, it will have a class, let's call this padding x 12, padding y 6, small screen padding x 4, small screen padding y 4, medium screen padding y 4, flex this will be called medium, padding x 6, and flex call relative, rounded to XL. It will have an inline style, background is going to be radial gradient RGB like 194, 97 to 954, and we'll have our 0.05. We'll have a second color 24, 24, 27 and 100%. Perfect. Now we can simply come back here, we'll take a div, it will have a class text left. Inside that div we'll take a div, it will have a class called flex. Inside that we'll take a p, it will have a class called text extra large margin right 2. Inside that we can display the data. So we'll have this plan. If I reload the page, you can see it looks good. We have to do a little bit of fix, but it's looking great. Perfect. Now we can come back here, we'll take a div, it will have a class called margin top 6, bottom 6. Inside the div we'll take a div, it will have a class called flex item center item end. Inside that div we'll take a p, it will have a class called text 4 XL font semi bold. Inside that we can display the data, which is the price. Then we can take another p tag, it will have a class called text large opacity 700. Inside that we can display the HTML space tag, and we can display the type, whether it's monthly, yearly or annual. Come back here, we'll take a p, it will have a class called margin y2. Inside that we can display the billing. Then we can simply leave to div and come here, we'll take a anchor. Inside that we can display the URL link, so user can click and it will redirect to the Stripe payment gateway, and there they can confirm the payment and they will get the credit. So let's apply the classes. Width full, height 11, flex item center, justify center, rounded large, drop shadow, padding x8, shadow, cursor pointer, active scale 95, on over effect brightness 110. We'll have a transition all, background gradient to top from scenic 600, VIA scenic 600 and to scenic 500. It will have a target is going to be a next page, means dot blank dash blank. Inside that we can say by credit. Perfect. Now we can come back here, we can take a div, it will have a class called flex, justify, center, text small, margin y2. Inside that we can display the button, cursor, pointer, select none, opacity 50, over effect will say opacity 100, flex, item center, justify, center, margin 2, on over effect will say border, opacity 50, we'll have a border, opacity 0, border, bottom, border, white. Inside that we can display the item and we'll say monthly, and this will have HTML space tag, and we can display our SVG icon. So this is the icon we have. Let's close this one. Current color, in the fill we'll say current color, we'll have a stroke with 0, and let's assign a view box. Let's assign the height, width, and we can go with the XML PS, and this is the general convention we follow, /CSV, and inside that we can define the path. So this is none, and we'll have a D. Make sure to give the exact ID, replicate it, remove this one, and let's give the second one 2H6.59 L4 18, then we'll have 5.5, and all of that we have. Perfect. So we got our SVG icon. Now we can simply come back here, we'll take a div, it will have a class, margin y3, padding x2. Inside that we can take a div, it will have a class, text extra large, in that we can say unlimited. Then we'll take a div, it will have a class called text small, opacity 70. Inside that we can take a slow generation. Perfect. Now we can come back here, we'll take a div, it will have a class called text white, text small, text left, space y3, top, margin top 4, margin bottom 6. Inside that we'll take our dynamic data, and we can simply render the array. So we have the item, and in this features we have an array, and we have to simply render it. List, index, you can check the dummy data, there you will have all of these details. Let's render that. We'll take a div, it will have a class flex, item center, item, base, line, place, items, base. Inside that we can take our color tick, and we can display the span. It will have a class, let's call this opacity 90. Inside that we can take a HTML space tag, and we can display the list item. Got it. Now we can simply come back here, we'll take a div, it will have a class called margin top 12. Inside that we'll take a div, it will have a class called grid, grid calls 1 medium device, grid calls 2 gap 8 medium, gap 10. Inside that we'll display our dynamic data, means the array, the question and answer. We'll have the information map, item, index is going to be an instant return. Take a div, it's have a key, let's give a class pros indigo. Inside that we can take h4, it will have a class call margin bottom 2. In that we can take a span, let's call this class margin right 3, hidden, target is going to be inline flex, and it will have an ID, let's call this plan limit, and it's going to be a self. Inside that we'll take another span, it will have a class animate ping absolute, inline flex, height 3, width 3, rounded full, background indigo 400, opacity 75, and is going to be a self closing span. Remove this one. Now we'll take another one, it will be a self closing. Let's have a class relative, inline, flex, rounded, fuel, height 3, width 3, background indigo 500, and now we can simply display the data item dot questions. Come here, we can div a div. It will have a class called text zinc 400. Inside that we can display the description. Perfect. Now I can come back here, we'll take a div. It will have a class. Actually it has the similar structure, so what I can do, I can simply copy this one. This is the entire div. Close this one, copy, and that's what we can paste here. Let's remove this one, and it's going to have the same classes, the same structure. No need to make any changes. Okay, I can see one thing. I can simply take this question and cut and paste here, and I have to do the same thing on top as well. This will be called how does the plan limit works, and here I have to do the same thing. Cut this one and paste here, and here we don't have the data, so we can simply display the dummy data, which is the Lauren. I'll say Lauren, and it will give me this dummy data. Now what I can do, I'll take a div. It will have a class called margin top 2. Inside that we can take a dummy data, and I can simply remove few lines. Perfect, looking great. Now we can see, so finally we are done with this entire section. If you come back here, you can see that's how it's going to look. Good, you can see this section is perfect. And here we have an issue in our pricing section, so they are very close to each other, and the button is also not reflecting, so we have to do a little bit adjustment in the alignment, but the rest should be fine. The rest should be fine, so this is fine. Let's do the inspect element, and this is how it will look. The responsiveness is working absolutely fine, but the alignment is not perfectly. So we can fix that. We can simply come back here, and I found the issue. So first thing we have to do is to do the changes right up here. If you come back here, first we have to make this div as a self-closing div. Close this one, and we have to remove this rest from here and save it. So one change you have to do there. Then if you come back here, you can see reload the page, and the button is reflecting fine. Startup plan, max plan is looking great. That's the one change we have to do. And now we have to do on this cart section. They're very close to each other. So come back here, and here we are in the plan section, and here you can see we have a max width, and here we have to add one more class called flex, so it's going to take the entire width. And here we have to do the changes. So here I made a mistake. It's called FORM, not FROM. So this is the wrong spelling. Remove this one, and here I have to do another fix. It's called white space no wrap. Simply copy this one and replace in all the places. Perfect. This is the fix. Remove this one, and we can simply come back here, and we can simply close this div and remove here. Perfect. Now it's looking good. Come back here, reload the page, and you will see perfectly. This is the title. We have the button perfectly aligned, and our cart section is spread out, and with looks great. You can click and you can come back to the checkout page, and you can simply complete the payment. Perfect. Come back here and go back to the data section. There you will find all of this data we have designed for max plan, the price, the images, the billing model, annual, generate, and here we have the Stripe payment gateway. So when you will create the payment link from Stripe, that's what you have to provide here, as well as in the environment variable. Here is the link and all of this data. You can simply do the editing and it will reflect in the front end. Perfect. Let's check the responsiveness. It's 100% responsive for all the screen sizes. Absolutely great. So we're done with this. Close this one, close this one, close this one, close this one. Now we can start, come back to the home page, and now we can start working on the payment section. So you can see this is what exactly we have here. All the tabs are working great. Here is the like one, here is the account one. Perfect. You can click and you can buy. Now come back here in the code, and we can simply come back in the AP, in the component. Inside that we have the global, and we have to work on the payment processing. This one. Once the user will complete the payment, we're going to display the particular component, and we're going to make an API call right up here. So let's come back here. Import couple of things. Use state, use effect. Then we have to import XCS library. Then we have to import router, because we have to get the data from the URL. Then we have to import our loader, which is coming from index. Then we have to import our icon, the brand icon, that's coming from our CSV index. Then we have to import our function, we'll say buy credit, and that's coming from utils. Got it? Now we can simply come back here. We have to take the plan, that what type of plan we are selling. We are selling 3 different plan: max, pro, and starter. And we have to import this. So max plan, we have process env next public max plan. Simply replicate that, and if you come back to the environment variable, there you will find that in each plan we are providing these many credits. So in the max plan we have 500 credit, in the pro we have 3, and the starter file we have 50. So that's what we have to access. Copy, paste, copy, paste, and copy, paste. So we got that. Let's replace the name, and looks good. We got the environment variable, and now we have to build the function. So first we have to receive the props like buying, and this will be set buying. Come back here, we'll take a use state, we'll say buying status. So by default it will be called waiting processing, wait processing. Now we can simply come back here. Let's take this particular function calling buying, and it will call credit. It will be an async function, and in that we have to pass the buying. And this one is going to be very interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply get the key pair which is available in the URL, and based on that I have to select the package which user have bought. So we'll say try and catch console log out it, and here we have to build if and else statement. So we'll say if buying is equal to max plan, because when the user will complete the payment, this max plan keyword will be available in the URL, because that's the success URL we are providing. So if it's max plans, means user have bought the max plan. You can see this is the max plans, pro plan, and starter plan. You don't need to make any changes in these places, because this is what we are finding in the URL, and based on that we are updating the credit. Got it? So first we have to say set buying status is going to be crediting. Then we can simply make a call to our backend, await buying credit, and we can simply pass the max plan which is coming from our environment variable. Then we can simply set the status to be completed, and after it's completed we have to simply redirect the user to the home page, push to the home page, and then we can simply remove this set buying. Perfect. When it's a max plan, then we have to simply do all of these actions and update the user credit based on the max plan. Let's write the else statement, and I can simply copy this one and paste here, and this will be our pro plan. So this is what we have: pro plan, and the rest will be fine. Simply copy and paste here, and the last one is going to be the starter plan. So starter plan, and starter plan, and this is our function is ready, which will update the user credit based on the purchase they have done. Now we have to simply call this set buying status to be contact support team if anything goes wrong, and I want to call this function when there is a component open. So we'll take this use effect, and let's call this buy credit, and we have to pass the buying, which one the user is buying. So we're done with this. Now we can simply come back to the pages index, and let's just work on the payment process. So let's give this, save it, let's make it side by side. Let's come back to the home page, and let's bring it here, and you can see the component is working. Now we have to work on the JSX. Come back here, let's take this fragment, we'll take a div, it will have a class fixed, inside 0, background zing 900, background opacity 40, zendex 50, and you can see we got an overlay. Now we have to apply the inline style, top 50%, transform, translate, minus 50%, minus 50%. Let's cut this one. Actually, we don't need to apply this classes on this. So simply select and cut, and we have to apply this. Pointer event is going to be auto. Then we have to take a div. It will have a class, background, zinc 800, item center, fixed, shadow XL, rounded to XL, zinc 50, padding X8, padding Y8, text small, border zinc 700, inline style is going to be top 50, and transform this. Come back here, left is going to be 50, you can see that square, and we'll say max width is going to be 30 pixels, width is going to be 100%, max height is going to be 84 VH, and inside that we can display the div. It will have a class called flex call, text zinc 200, text center, items center. Inside that we'll take our logo. There it is. Now we have to take a div. It will have a class called new dash loader JS on. Then we'll take a span. It will have binary, replicate this, and the third one will be called getting there, and will display the current status of the payment. So we'll say buying status. Perfect. The entire component is ready. We are importing all of that, and all the call of the API and the transaction is happening. So let's make on the big screen. So this looks great. Close this one, come back here, and here we have the environment variable. This is very important. So this is what we're going to provide in our Stripe payment gateway. Once the payment will confirm successfully, the user will be redirected to this particular endpoint. Perfect. And this is the URL we have to get from the Stripe. So close this one, close this one, close all of that, and that's how it's looking. Perfect. Now we can simply minimize this one, come back, and now we have to go to Stripe. Simply type Stripe, and I already have my account. Stripe is a very powerful payment provider which you can simply go. I already have my account, so I will simply log into it. If you don't have your account, simply create your account. So let's click on this login and just wait. It's taking a little bit time, and finally I'm logged into my account, and this is my test account. That's why you can see it's available on the test. But if you want to go into the live mode, you have to verify your documents and submit your documents, then they will give you the active account. So I'm going to do the testing on the test network. So you can see this is my dashboard, and if I come back to the payment link, you will find all the payment links which I have created. So this is the 3 payment link I have created when I was doing the testing. So to create a new payment link, it's very easy. You can simply click here in the new, and here you will have multiple options. So you have to click on this, and it will give you 2 options based on the choose to customer, which is going to be a kind of donation type, but we want to have as a product and service. So select this one, and here you have to give the name of the product. So you can call whatever you want. So I'll say Pro Plan, and you have to simply select here, and it's going to give you this model, and here you can provide more detail. So give the description about the plan. I can upload my image, so I'll upload to documents, and this is the image. And from here you can set the price in multiple currency. If you are Indian, you can send Indian pricing. If you want from anywhere else, you can simply select that. It's give you like more than 35 countries currency. So you can click and you can pick anyone. So I'll go with the USD, and I want to charge, let's say $50, $20 for this particular plan, and simply click on this add product, and it will be added. So here you have added the product successfully. Now you can add more details if you want. If I want to take the name of the user, so I can simply come back here, click on this add custom name, and get this to name, and this is added. Now I can simply come back here, and I want to redirect the user to a landing page. So I can come back to the after payment, and here I have to give the URL. So click on this. Here I have to provide the URL. So come back to the code, and this URL we have designed. So this is the URL we have to get. Simply copy. This is one is for the Pro Plan. Copy this one, and that's what we have to provide. So it will be redirect to this particular location. Click on this create, and that's how you can create your plan. I hope you guys have understood. You got the link of the payment. Simply copy that one, And that's what you can simply provide here. Paste here. Perfect. So that's how you can create a link and do the configuration in the Stripe. If you come back to the payment link, I have already done with all of these 3 plans, so I'm going to go with the previous one, but that's how you can create. So I'll simply click here and copy from here. Simply copy this one, and here you will find this is the exact endpoint I have given for the starter file, so that's what I will going to get it. So let's simply provide all of that. So let's give it here, come back, go back to the max, copy. This is going to be the max one. Now I can get the, let's say, pro one. I'll copy from here, and this one is going to be pro one, and the same URL you have to provide in the data field, like in the feature, and here you have to provide the same URL. Got it? And if you want to do the editing, you can simply do that. This one is the starter, this one is the pro, and this one is the max. You can simply do the changes. Close this one, and you are ready. You are ready to done. You have done all the setups. Now we have to simply restart your application because we have added new environment variable. So simply close, stop the application, and simply start the application. Started. Now we can test this. So simply close this one, reload the page, come back here, and we have to simply deactivate and remove this one. Save it, come back, reload the page, and it's taking, and finally our application is working fine. If you click, you can see I have 0 credit. So now I'm ready to buy the credit. So I can simply come back here, click on the buy credit, and it will take you to account page, and I can select any one. I can click on this 50, and it will take me to the Stripe, and I can fill out all of this detail. So I'll give the name, I'll give my card details. So in Stripe for testing mode, we have photo, and you can give any date and any CVC, but it should be in future. Card holder name, and I can go with this. Click on the payment, and it's processing. Once the payment will complete, we will redirect to our application, and the payment is completed, and here we are. So we have successfully bought it. If you click, it's not reflecting, but if you reload the page, it's going to reflect that, and there it is, 500 credit, we have bought it. If you come and if you want to buy more, you can simply click, and you can simply fill out all of these details. Give the test card, CVC, name, and we can give the credential, and the payment is confirmed. We are here, reload the page, and you can see we got this 300 credit more. So right now we have 800. In the same way, you can pick the next one as well, and you can buy it. So I did it very quickly, and you can see I got it. Perfect. So all the payments is working fine. Now you can simply come back here, go back to, let's say, if I want to create more, I can simply come back here and I can create. You can see the button is enable, and I can create. So I can give my prompt. Let's call this one to mountain cover with snow. Let's give the tag, and let's select the model, and this time I'll go with this one. Let's go with this one. Click on this generate, and here we got it. Close this one. If you come back here, go to the Instagram, this is what we got it. Perfect. Everything is looking great. You can see. Now we can come back here, close this one, go back to the upload, and there you will find all the images we are uploading. That's all you will find. So this is the one generated. Perfect. Come back here. Let's go to change this model to V2, and there is no image we have created using V2 model. So let's test that. So come back here. We have selected the V2 model, and I click on 4 images. Select the ratio is going to be, let's say, this one, like this one, and I can give the prop. So flying cat in the mountain. Give the tag animal. Let's call this animal, and select the V2, and all of that looks great. Generate. Make sure to give brief prompt. The more brief prompt you will give, the better quality of image you will get. And here we got the images. You can see we got 4 images. You can type and you can change the images. You You can click and you will be redirected here. Perfect. All the images reflecting is related to V2 model. You can see. Perfect. You can come back here and there is no image. You can come to YouTube. You can see this is the image we have created. You can like, unlike. Come back here. You can see reload the page. Okay, this is the fix we have to do. And this is the fix I have to do. Okay, we have to do a little bit changes. I know the problem because we are checking for the condition. Everything is great. And here we have to do the changes and the like page. If I change this to V3, you will see the images are looking fine. Area is fine. History page is also looking fine. Great. Perfect. So we have to do a little bit changes in the history page and the like page. But let's come back to the V2 history, not reflecting. But we have one image. So come back here, go back to the pages, history. And I see the problem. I can simply do one thing. This is fine. We don't need to do anything in here. This is good. We are calling the right name and all. We are calling the reel. And here we have to do the changes. I can take this button out of it. So I can come back to the like, and we don't need this. Actually, we have this. This is what I have in all the places. So there is the fix we have to do in these two pages. This is fine. The name is fine. This is also a good one. And I found a problem. So what we can do, we have this all copy post, remove this one. We don't need this one because we don't have the filter system in the like page, and we can remove in all the places. Remove it here. And this is what I have. I can remove this. And we don't need this one. Remove this one. Save it. Those are the changes we have to do. And now we can, not a big deal. We can fix that very easily. Come back here. And we have this button section. I can do one thing. I can simply take this button out of this dynamic component. So we have all of this button. I'll simply close this one and close this one. And let's do the inspect element. This is fine. We already have the images. You can see we have the images. So the only thing we have to do is to take the bottom out of it. Let me have a quick look. Let's go back to the index page, and this is, I have exactly the same name in the model. There is no problem in the model. This is good. We are doing all of the check. This is also fine. Spelling is also good. So spelling is also good. Active model. We have the data. Reload the page. So we can come back here, and now we have to do one thing. So simply take this button and close this one and cut this button and take this out of this dynamic block, paste it. And we can come back here, redo the page. If I go to the like, you can see we have the tab system. So now if I click on the tab, you can see now I can able to access this. Perfect. Looking great. And that's the exact thing we have to do on the history section. So this is good, and the rest should be fine. The rest should be fine. Now we can come back to the history, and here we have simply cut and paste here the button, redo the page, and if I come back to the history, it's reflecting. Perfect. Perfect. Let's do the inspect element. Perfectly aligned. You can go to different section of the component. Pretty good. Come back to the home, and this is the YouTube, Instagram, Reel. That looks good. So we are done with the entire project. We are just doing the testing that all the features are working perfectly. We have the tabs working great. We have the history working tabs perfectly. This is the like section we have, and perfect. Come back to the history. Okay. Come back to the home. We can change the model, and there it is. It's also looking great. And we can come back to the tab. If I click OK, I have to fix this spelling. Come back to the code, and here I am. I can simply come here, rename this and copy the name, and that's all I have to do is to come back here. Then there's no need to do any changes in the component. So let's come and have a look. Do we have any extra? So we can come back here, and this is fine. Like, come back here, and there is the place where I have to do the changes. Simply come back here, get it one more time, and paste here. Perfect. And come back and redo the page. Now if you come back to the history, click here, it will take you to the create section. Perfect. So we are done with this entire project. I hope you guys can understand. All the creators are looking great. We can down it, up it. Let's check the responsiveness of the application. Perfect. You can select the different models, ratio, check the credit, change the models. Let's create the image for testing. Let's say flying boy over tree. Click on boy. I don't want to create 5. Let's click on that. And here we got it. That's funny. So boy is flying in the trees. Perfect. You can like it, you can close it, you can come back here, and let's come to the home, and we are in the YouTube. This is the Instagram. Click here, you can select and open it up. Perfect. Let's change the model v3 because that's what I like most. Perfect. Let's do the inspect element final time to see things are looking good and responsive. Yeah, we have this cast system looking great. On click open, we can open it. We can tap. Perfect. Perfect. Check the card system, looks great. This is the history section. We have the like system and account system. So every single thing is looking good and 100% responsive. You can see how beautiful things are coming together. So we are done with this entire project. Close this one, close this one. I hope you guys have enjoyed what we have done it. Everything is looking great. Now we can come back to the blockchain coder, and there you will find all the resources about this particular project. So we have tons of project on our channel. Come back to the source. You can come back to the movie AI, and if you take this particular course, it will teach you every single thing about the web 2 development and how you can deal with the AI models. That's all, because in this we have built one of the powerful application where you can find about the movies through the voice controls. That's AI models we have included. So it will teach you every single thing about the Tailwind CSS, folder and file structure. That's all you will learn. So make sure to check this one. Check out the modules we have. We got an amazing response, and a lot of students have already taken that. And if you want to take your web3 career to the next level, you can check this one. It has 40+ hours of content. You will learn complete blockchain development from beginner to advanced level. You will master complete sorted programming language. You will learn about the web3 setup, and you're going to build one of the biggest web3 project. So check this one as well. Come back to the source code section. There you will find that we have more than 50 projects related to web3. That's all you will find. So make sure to check. And this is the project in which you will have all the detail, all the assets, all the starter file. So you can simply click here and you can watch this video if you take the final source code. In that I have explained that how you have to do the setup if you get the final source code. Make sure to watch this video complete, and you can click here, and from here you can get the starter file, watch the setup video, and you can buy the code. That's all is given. Perfect. So finally, we're done with this entire project. I hope you guys have followed along with me and understood every single thing, and you have built your first ever AI image art generator. If you have any question, any doubt, do let me know in the comment section. Do leave your feedback, and definitely we're going to have more project related to that. Check all the project we have on the channel. It will teach you every single thing and make you better Web3 developer or Web2 developer. With that, I'm ending this. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.